What's going on, movie fans? My name is Michael Weer. I love talking about movies and I love collecting physical media. As you can see on those shelves back there, I have so many movies already, but today it's time to once again update my Blu-ray collection with you guys. I'm going to share with you all of the Blu-rays, 4Ks, Steelbooks, all of the movie collections, just everything I've picked up on physical media since the last time I made a Blu-ray collection update video. But you guys know this isn't just about my collection. I would love to know what you've picked up over the last several months. Maybe there's some new releases you got your hands on, you were really excited about it. Maybe you were just at a disc replay or a Walmart and you found some Blu-rays and you were excited about those. Let me know what you picked up in the last several months in the comment section down below. And finally, guys, if this is the first time you're finding my channel and you like Blu-ray collection updates, well, I've got so many on my channel. I would love for you to hit that subscribe button, check out all the different content, or if you're just a movie fan, I have movie reviews, movie talk, series reviews. I even have ranked videos on my channel. Little bit of everything for everybody. So if you're a movie fan, I would love for you to hit that subscribe button, check out the rest of my content, and without any more delay, let's get into my Blu-ray collection update video. Alright guys, right off the bat, we have one of my favorite horror movies of the year, and that is Oddity. Oddity is a great film with a terrifying atmosphere throughout the entire movie. It also has a plot that sort of keeps you guessing, sort of a murder mystery whodunit. They do reveal who did it about halfway through the movie, but until that point, it's a murder mystery, and I really like what they do with this film. Oddity has that terrifying wooden man, and this is the face, and that was creepy in and of itself. I highly recommend this movie. Watch it with all the lights off. You won't be disappointed. Next up, we have Unfinished Business, and this film stars Vince Vaughn, and it's about a Christmas office party, and I don't really remember much else about it. Is Jennifer Aniston in this? She might be. I'm not 100% sure, but Unfinished Business. There you go. Next up, we have Under Siege. I know Steven Seagal is not the absolute best person now. I even think he's a Russian citizen now, so maybe he's not a good guy. But back in the 80s and 90s, Steven Seagal kicked ass, and I love his movies from the 80s and 90s, including Under Siege. And then we have Steven Seagal in Out for Justice. Now listen, if you're a super anti-Steven Seagal person, you might have turned this video off already, but if you haven't, this is the last time I'll be talking about Steven Seagal in this video, so just bear with me. But anyway, I got Out for Justice, another badass action flick, and again, I think his movies from the 80s and 90s are just a really fun time. Next up, we have Brad Pitt in Killing Them Softly. I don't know if I've seen this one. In fact, I'm pretty sure I haven't, but it has Ray Liotta in it, so here we are, Killing Them Softly. I'll watch it eventually. Next up, we have a movie called The Bike Riders, and I picked this one up on Blu-ray. Didn't feel like I needed it on 4K. Wasn't my favorite movie of the year. Was really hoping I was gonna love this one, and I think I really enjoyed it. I wouldn't go as far as to say I loved it, but I think it was a decent enough film. Just wish they would have focused more on the bike riders instead of the bike rider's wife. That's kind of what they end up doing in this movie, but it was still a fun time. Next up, a friend of mine named Carl gave me The People Under the Stairs, a movie I've never actually seen, but I am looking forward to watching it, and thank you, Carl, for this movie. Much appreciated. Next up, guys, we have Wolf, and Wolf is a film starring Jack Nicholson and Michelle Pfeiffer, where Jack Nicholson is turning into a werewolf. A werewolf movie I haven't actually seen, and I'm really looking forward to sitting down and watching this. My wife loves Jack Nicholson, so I'm hoping to watch this with her. So Wolf, I picked it up on Blu-ray. Have you seen it? Let me know how it is. Next up, we have Equalizer 2, the only Equalizer movie I haven't actually watched. I've watched the first one and the third one. I own the first and the third on Blu-ray, but now I own Equalizer 2 to fill out that collection, and eventually I'll get around to watching it. Next up, we have, I believe it's 2019 or 2018, Child's Play. This is, of course, the updated Child's Play where it's mostly AI. I liked that aspect of it, although I sort of missed the supernatural aspect of it. I guess there's a little bit of both in this film. Overall, I thought it was a fun time. Mark Hamill as the voice of Chucky was an interesting choice. I enjoyed it for the most part. So Child's Play, I have every other Child's Play film, so I just needed this to fill out the collection. Next up, guys, we have Scooby-Doo on Zombie Island and Scooby-Doo Return to Zombie Island. Now, I don't know if I've seen Return to Zombie Island, but Scooby-Doo on Zombie Island is an absolute classic in in my house. My kids and I love watching this movie together, and we also like watching Scooby-Doo and the Witch's Ghost. This is probably my favorite version of Scooby-Doo, these cartoons that came out right at that same time, the cartoon movies. I also really love that the monsters are real in these. There's something fun about that. On top of all that, a couple weeks ago on my birthday, I put a projector outside, set up the outside really awesome. I'll share a picture. And my kids and I watched Scooby-Doo and the Witch's Ghost. It was right before Halloween. It was the perfect time of year to watch it in the perfect setting. Loved everything about it. And we roasted s'mores. So it was overall a fun time. This copy also has Scooby-Doo and the Alien Invaders. I don't think I've watched that one, but overall, I'm a big Scooby-Doo fan. I like the cartoons, especially from that era. I think those are done the best. The monsters are real. It makes a whole difference to the whole TV show when it's not just some guy in a mask. Anyway, we'll move on from Scooby-Doo. Next up, guys, we have Daredevil. And here's the thing, not a great film, but Deadpool and Wolverine, a movie we will talk about in a little bit, kind of reignited my love for the Fox universe of Marvel movies, and so I've been picking them up as I go, so now I own Daredevil. Next up, guys, we have another fantastic horror film from this year starring Nicolas Cage, and that is Lawn Legs. Oh, let me just jump into my lawn legs. Oh, it's terrifying. I loved his performance in this movie as a serial killer Satan worshiper. I thought he was terrifying throughout. He gives a fantastic performance, and I thought the movie overall was a really good time. They do get into some supernatural elements that I wish they hadn't done towards the end of this movie. I wish it had been more of a straightforward serial killer cat and mouse game with a police officer, but overall, still had a fun time with Lawn Legs. Picked it up on Blu-ray, glad I own it. Next up, guys, we have a time travel movie in The Butterfly Effect, where Ashton Kutcher goes into his past to fix something, but the butterfly effect happens, and so many things are changed in his future. It's a really fun time travel movie. I always enjoy this one. Next up, we have another brand new film, and that is The Fall Guy. I had no idea this was a TV show until the end credits when they started showing clips of the TV show. I was like, oh, all right, cool. That was not my generation at all, but it was a TV show. They spun it into a movie starring Ryan Gosling and Emily Blunt, and I loved their on-screen chemistry. Whether they were in romantic scenes or they were having fun with each other, making the audience laugh, I thought both of them did a fantastic job, and I look forward to watching the two of them in more movies in the future if we are blessed with that, because I thought it was done so damn well. This was a really fun time. If you haven't watched it yet, it's a solid comedy, and it's an action film at the same time. So if you want a little bit of comedy, a little bit of action, I think you'll have a good time with The Fall Guy. Next up, guys, we have Major League, and believe it or not, another comedy I have not seen. Sometimes when I pick up these Blu-rays, it's to fill out my collection and save some movies for a rainy day, and Major League is one of those. So I look forward to watching Major League in the future. Next up, we have Charlotte's Web. I'll be honest, I picked this up because my youngest daughter is learning about Charlotte's Web in school. They're reading the book and they're going through the motions. So I picked this up and she was like, we can't watch the movie until I'm done with the book. So eventually I'll watch Charlotte's Web with her. I'm looking forward to that. Next up, we have Pain and Gain. Not my favorite movie, but a really dark and seedy film, and that sort of is attractive in and of itself. The movie stars Mark Wahlberg and The Rock as a couple of guys go into the gym. They decide to link up and they start murdering and dismembering people. Again, it gets really dark, and by the end of the film, I didn't realize that this was a true story, and at the end of the film, I felt kind of icky afterwards, but I think you were supposed to. So I had a good time with Pain and Gain, and I recommend it to everybody. Next up, guys, we have Passengers, starring Chris Pratt and Jennifer Lawrence. This is a good movie. You know, a guy who is supposed to be taking care of these people wakes her up early, and then they have to live a life together, and it's kind of messed up because he stole her life from her, and will they or won't they find love and happiness together? And I think the movie ends on a really nice note. So overall, Passengers is a fun sci-fi adventure. Next up, guys, are you not entertained? That's right, Gladiator, but this time on 4K. Now, I've talked about Gladiator in the past on my channel because I've owned this on Blu-ray. I think I owned it on DVD before that, but now I own it on 4K, and I'm really looking forward to watching this before Gladiator 2 comes out this weekend. So Gladiator, of course, what else can I say about it? It's a fantastic performance by both Russell Crowe and Joaquin Phoenix. It's one of Ridley Scott's best films. He's making a sequel to it now. I'm hoping the sequel can live up to this film. This film was just so incredible. Next up, guys, we have another great horror film from 2024, and it is Maxine. This is, of course, Ty West's end of his trilogy in the Pearl and Maxine world. Of course, the series started with the movie X, which was about a bunch of porn stars going to a cabin, and they get murdered by a lady named Pearl and her husband. And of course, Maxine is the only one to make it out of that alive. But then the series pauses before it goes on to Maxine, and we got Pearl, which was the old lady from the first movie's backstory. The fun thing about Pearl and Maxine is they're both played by Mia Goth. She puts all the makeup on for Pearl, and she takes all the makeup off and looks very young and pretty for Maxine. I think that those two movies were fantastic, and they were a huge surprise. Then we got told, hey, there's a third movie in the trilogy coming out, and it's called Maxine, and this year we got it, and I thought it was a fantastic follow-up to both X and Pearl. I love this trilogy, one of my favorite horror trilogies, probably of all time at this point. I think they really nailed this one. I would have liked a little more Pearl in this film, but I think overall, seeing Maxine sort of finish out her arc, Kevin Bacon in this movie just being absolutely seedy and disgusting, I thought there was a lot to love about it, and I look forward to another viewing. So Maxine, I picked it up on 4K. Next up on 4K, we have Will Smith and Martin Lawrence, Bad Boys, Ride or Die. This is still in my top 5 for the entire year. I loved watching this movie. Did not have the best experience at the theater when I went and saw it. There was somebody chewing ice directly next to my ear. I had my theater double book my seats, so my wife and I got to our seats, and then some guy and his kids came up and they're like, those are our seats, and we're like, no, they're not. And we had been double booked, and so they made him go. It was a whole thing, but the movie itself was an absolutely fun time. I loved watching Martin Lawrence and Will Smith cut it up on the screen together. The action in this movie is awesome. The camera work in this movie is awesome. There's a moment where Martin Lawrence needs a gun. Will Smith throws it through the air. It flies through the air. You follow it through the air until it lands in Martin Lawrence's hand, and he takes the shot. It's an incredible scene, and I loved so much about Bad Boys Ride or Die. I had to have it as soon as it came out. Next up, guys, another 4K film, and this is Furiosa, a Mad Max saga. And this is, of course, a follow-up to Mad Max Fury Road, which I hadn't watched until this year. I understood it once I watched it. I was like, wow, what a fantastic film. Then we got Furiosa this year, and I think that both Anya Taylor-Joy and Chris Hemsworth knocked it out of the park in this film. Anya Taylor-Joy was as good as I expected her to be, but Chris Hemsworth really wowed me. He was a fantastic villain, and this is a film I haven't actually revisited since theaters, but I really look forward to watching it on 4K because it just was a beautiful movie to look at, and I look forward to watching that performance from both Anya Taylor-Joy and Chris Hemsworth again. Next up, guys, we have Deadpool and Wolverine. This, as of right now, is still my favorite movie of 2024. We have about a month left. We have Gladiator 2 and Nosferatu coming out, both of which could knock this thing off. I could see that happening, but this movie was so fantastic. It was everything I wanted it to be, everything I needed it to be. I loved watching this film in theaters. Both times I watched this film in theaters, I had such a fun time. I've watched it at home once. I love the banter between Deadpool and Wolverine. Just getting Hugh Jackman back as Wolverine was fantastic, but also seeing Ryan Reynolds continue on as the Merc with a Mouth. I loved so much about it. It's even just a sweet send-off to the Fox Universe. Marvel bought Fox a couple years ago, which means we ended that Fox universe, and this was such a nice send-off. I loved that Good Riddance song at the end of the film during the end credits, where you get to see all the different outtakes from the Fox universe. This movie was so much fun. I loved it so much. I bought this on day one. Like, this came out, I went to the Walmart that I was near. I think it was in Cleveland, Ohio that day. So I went to the nearest Walmart, and they were like, oh yeah, we never got our shipment. You got to go down the street. So I drove another 15 minutes down the street to the next Walmart, and they had a copy, and I picked it up on 4K, and I regret nothing. So Deadpool and Wolverine on 4K, very happy to own it. Now I have a couple collections, and I have a couple steelbooks. So I'm going to start with the collections. The first one up is The Green Knight, and this is, of course, an A24 film that notoriously on this channel I thought was garbage the first time I watched it. I thought The Green Knight was absolutely terrible. In fact, I did a quick out-of-the-theater reaction to it where I said, I don't get it, the movie didn't work for me, blah, blah, blah. Now, fast forward a couple months later, I sit down with my wife to rewatch it. I wanted to show her how bad it was, and I was blown away with how much I loved the film. So I don't know what it was. It was like a switch. I watched it once, wasn't a big fan, watched it a second time, and I absolutely loved it. This is a fun collection for The Green Knight. Here is the front and back, and my buddy Alex Leba actually gave this to me. So here is the Blu-ray of The Green Knight, and then it has the story of The Green Knight and pictures. So it's a really cool release. I don't know who does this release, but it is a really cool release. It is a little taller than your average Blu-ray, so I have to like find a fun spot for it on my shelf. But there you go, the Green Knight Collector's Edition. A big shout out to my buddy Alex Leba for getting this for me for my birthday. Alex is the best. If you know Alex, you know he's the best. If you haven't seen his channel, you need to go check out his channel. He's got so many things, especially if you're a Blu-ray collector. You must have heard about Alex. If you haven't, though, check out his channel. All right, guys, next up, well, this brings up Alex Leba again, because I go out with Alex Leba to do a Blu-ray hunting trip. We go around, we're finding all this different stuff, and he goes, man, you should get that Bond 50. You should get it. And I was like, nah, I'm not going to get it. And then I realized that I had a 20% off coupon, and I was like, all right, I'm going to do it. So Alex basically convinced me to buy this. I've never owned all of the Bond films before. I currently have all of the Daniel Craig Bond films on 4K. I have all the Pierce Brosnans on Blu-ray, but I don't own any of the others. And as a lifelong Bond fan, I needed to change that. And so here we are. We have the 1962 through 1981 Bond, and then we have the 1983 through 2012 Bond. And then, of course, like I said, I have all the other Bonds since 2012 on 4K already. And so, yeah, here is the Bond 50 edition. There it is. I think it's awesome. I finally own all the Bond movies. And that's pretty awesome. All right, guys, we got some steelbooks to talk about, and then we will be done with this video. The first one up is the Firefly trilogy. This is, of course, Rob Zombie's Firefly trilogy with House of a Thousand Corpses, Three from Hell, and The Devil's Rejects. And right here is the front and back. There's the inside of it. Again, a Walmart release, and they wanted way too much when it first released, but I think I picked this up at my local disc replay for 12 bucks. That was a pretty good deal, so there it is. Next up, guys, we have one of my favorite horror films from 2024, and it is Late Night with the Devil. This is a really cool steelbook edition that I picked up. It came with a bunch of extra goodies that I think I put away somewhere. But as for the movie, David Dastmalchian gives a fantastic performance as a late-night comedy television show host in the 70s, trying to get ahead in the ratings. And so on Halloween night, which gives it a nice spooky atmosphere, on Halloween night, he brings in a psychic, a skeptic, and a girl who claims to be possessed by a demon, and it is such a good movie. It's also shot in a pretty unique way, in my opinion. It's shot sort of as a found footage film, but only for portions of it. For the most part, you watch this as a straightforward late night television show through the screens in the 70s, so you watch it on a pretty much normal basis, but every time they go to commercial break, you see found footage of the background in this movie, and I think all of those scenes are done so well. I love this movie. There's so many layers to it, and they do such a good job sort of bringing all these stories together in the movie, all the different people from different walks of life that are introduced on stage. I think this movie is hands down one of the best horror films I've seen in years, let alone just in 2024. All right, guys, 2 steelbooks left. The first one up, we have the Deadpool and Wolverine steelbook featuring Wolverine on the front of it. I did decide to go ahead and buy this one, even though I think that they wanted way too much money for it. But I owned the Wolverine copy of it. I didn't buy the Deadpool copy because the Deadpool copy just seemed kind of standard. Deadpool shooting, but this had Wolverine on it. It was Hugh Jackman coming back, maybe for the last time as Wolverine. I think it's an awesome case. There's the inside where you see all the different Deadpools. I think on the reverse, if you buy the Deadpool, you get all the different Wolverines on the inside of that one. So I don't know, maybe one day I'll see it, I'll pick it up. But as of right now, here's the 4K version. We already talked about this film being my favorite movie of the year. I love so much about it. So what is the last one? What did I decide to save for last today? Well, that's a movie that just showed up today, and it is the steelbook for Godzilla -1. Now, if you've been watching my channel for the last year, you know I've covered Godzilla -1 several times in a full review, in several quick videos. I love this movie. I've seen it 4 times in theaters, once on Netflix, and now I will watch it on Steelbook 4K very soon. This case is really cool. The cover isn't necessarily see-through. I like that you can see Godzilla there, but then you pull off this slip cover, and there you go. There's the front and back right there. I love so much about this film. I love the heart, the emotion in this film. I love the writing in this film. I think the dialogue is fantastic. It's got moments that are really funny, but at the same time, so emotional. And then, of course, you get the big bad destruction of an evil Godzilla, and there's just something wonderful about that. I love Godzilla -1. I think I made it my number 2 movie of 2023, right behind Oppenheimer. But I think if I could go back, I might switch those. I might make Godzilla -1 a better movie just for rewatchability. I have tried to rewatch Oppenheimer, and I find that it's hard to get through as far as rewatchability is concerned. But as far as Godzilla Minus One is concerned, again, 4 times in theaters and once on Netflix, and now I'll be watching it at home very soon on 4K. I love this film. I highly recommend it if you have not checked out Godzilla Minus One. And guys, that's going to do it for my Blu-ray collection update here today. I do have one other Blu-ray, but I don't want to show you here. I'm going to make a separate video for it, so be on the lookout for an unboxing video very, very soon. And like I said at the beginning of this video, if you've picked up new physical media, I would love for you to drop those in the comment section down below. Let me know what you picked up. Maybe you picked up some of these. Maybe you already have some of these. Let me know. And finally, guys, if you like this video, don't forget to hit the like button because it helps the video, it helps the channel, and it helps me right here. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time. All right, guys, we got to the end of my Blu-ray collection update video, and I know I had slightly teased at the end of the video that I would be doing an unboxing, and here's the box. What's in there? What could it be? Stay tuned. You'll find out soon. With that said, if you want to check out any of the other content on my channel in the meantime, well, I've got all of my Blu-ray collection updates right there, and I've got all of my 2024 movie reviews right there.